we live in a world that has in our our American culture, we'll say, we have this epidemic of deaths of despair.
Mm.
um, and you can go down that road. And perhaps there's people listening to this podcast right now that are down that road. And um, resilience is stick-to-itiveness, right?
Mm.
But that doesn't mean you can't get help.
Mm.
Resilience becomes a problem when you start saying, I'm not going to ask somebody else for help because I'm capable of handling it myself. um, Resilience is really just, these things have happened to you and you're able to get over them through some means. It doesn't have to be by yourself.
Mm.
That's the way I view it. I've had therapy in the past. I have this drive, this desire to do as many things as I can all the time, as fast as I can. But that runs right into a barrier of raising a family
Mm.
and balancing my time. And these things, the anxiety that drives this stress, that ultimately is unmanageable without support.
Mm.
So
Mm.
uh, resilience, like you said, can be a two-sided monster as well.
Mm. Mm. I want to ask you, you mentioned that drive to do, I mentioned all the things you do, you've done a lot. Where does that drive come from? If you had to say, where do you think that drive to want to do so much?
Oh,
Or
I'm insanely competitive.
yeah.
It always just bugged me when somebody could do something that I couldn't, and it still does. Clearly I can't play professional baseball, but in my mind I can still play baseball. Um, Ever since I was a kid, ever since I can remember, it was a competitive streak. If I lost, I'd want to play again and again and again and again and
What was
again.
the narrative in your head? Was it that, like, was it rooted in like a positive or a negative thing, you think?
It was a positive thing, thinking I lost, but I can get better if I try this.
Mm.
I can get better if I try this. I can get better. So it was never like self uh, defeating. It was never, you're horrible. You can't do this. Um, it was if you keep at it, you can try to figure out a new way to do it and get a little bit better.
Mm.
And if you stick with it, everyone else will just get tired, and then you'll just be the best by default.
That's a
Um,
fascinating concept in and of itself. Sorry to jump in there, but
yeah.
I think about that. Like, I think about that comes out most purely in sports. Like, I'm a big like UFC boxing fan, those type,
Oh,
but it's any
sure.
sport. But like, it always seems to me technique's important, right? Strength is important, but endurance, like, if
Hmm.
you have that on your side where you do not get tired, like people break. That's just the nature of humans. We break at a certain point, and if your breaking point can be further than that other person's, to me, that seems to be the biggest competitive advantage there is. And as you're speaking, that's kind of what I hear in that, like taking that and just making it a macro mindset for everything in life.
Well, so I was not the best wrestler. I was a decent wrestler. But I remember I lost, my junior year first match. And I lost because I got winded. I knew it. I was better than them, but I got winded. I didn't feel like I was. I don't know if anyone else felt this in wrestling or mixed martial arts or anything. When you're grappling with someone, do you ever feel like you're stronger than them? Because I never did once
It's a
in my
good
life.
question. I do jujitsu now, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and that's a
Okay.
good question. It's yeah, not often. Yeah, it's interesting. I
So
never
I
thought
always
about it.
felt like I was not as strong as the other person. I don't know if that's just a perception thing, but I got winded, and I that talk about a time where I was frustrated. I was frustrated that I got winded. I felt like I hadn't worked hard enough, and so I would do extra workouts after our practice, and run to our practice in the morning. It was at a gym that was a half mile away. I'd make sure that I wasn't walking, and then
Mm.
it's just these silly little things around the edges, but the silly things I thought add up. Man, I still do. Now, um, local politics, regional politics here in the Pacific Northwest. Um, the big differentiator on people that succeed and don't are the ones that show up
Mm.
consistently. And showing up is an endurance game. It's easy not to show up. You could just say, "Oh, I've got other meetings. I'm too busy. I've got other things to do." But if you commit to showing up and you commit to doing just the things, reading, being prepared, practicing your speaking, understanding the issues, after a while, that's going to separate you from the herd. That's going to separate you from your peers, because you're going to see that most people don't do that.
Mm.
It's surprising to me.
Mm. Yeah, and it almost makes you wonder, like, there's probably multiple explanations, but when you think about why don't most people do it, like there's the obvious that like it's hard. It's hard work to do it. Okay, fair enough. But is it that they don't believe that hard work is going to result in the thing they want, or do they not actually think the thing they want is worth it? I don't know, but like it would
Yeah.
seem like mathematically it has to be one of those two things, because we all kind of know this. We know, I think if you put in the effort, you'll get there. But do you think there's people that are out there that like, no, that's fate. That's placing a bet, and I don't want to place that bet. I don't want to do all that work and not get the payout.
Ooh, I don't know. I've been in groups where I had no real incentive to participate, and I said, "Oh, this group's not for me," so I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna, exit out of it pretty shortly. Um, so enter the selfishness conversation.
Yeah, back to where we were.
Um,
Yeah, it's connected.
I don't know what drives everybody.
What is it for you though, Josh? Like as you think about that wrestling tournament, was it hard for you to go put in that work then? Like was it a struggle where you like, I do not want to do this, but I don't want that feeling again? Or was it easy? Was it like, oh, I know what I want, I'm just gonna go do it?
No, I hated every minute
You
of
hated
it.
every minute.
That's it. From high school wrestling, it was a great learning environment, because I was much better at baseball and football than I was at wrestling, but I ended up doing wrestling through all of school. Um, and um, and I wasn't good at it. Even at the end, I wasn't really good at it. But I got better every time. The Now that I see in hindsight, I went from that, kind of failed out of college my first try, and I didn't know how to go to school, but then I joined the Marines. And by then, I'd kind of baked in this idea of something scared me, and I was going to be drawn towards it. Not necessarily a conscious effort, but it was another one of those things where it just frustrated me that something would scare me. Um,
Competitiveness.
yeah, I'm not talking about ridiculous risks like jumping out of a plane or climbing free climbing, but everyday things like speaking in groups, or the idea of expressing an opinion, or joining the Marines.